Welcome everyone, welcome to a brand new Let's Play. Maybe not brand new, but Rimworld has been updated to version 1.0 for a little while now, and I've been sort of waiting for some mods to get updated and for everything to settle before I really play another one. So that time has finally arrived and we are back into it. Now, in honor of Rimworld version 1.0, and in honor of today being, or in honor of New Year's, rather, I figure we'll do a bit of a throwback to, a series that we did before, which is the Cult series, because it's fun. I love the Cthulhu Cult stuff. So we'll go through the mod list. This will be episode 0, as we did last time, just to have a look at the mods and do all our setup stuff, because God knows how long it'll take. Maybe it'll take 10 minutes, maybe it'll take 20. But either way, we're going to have a look through this. So, standard, like libraries, you have Hugslib, Jex Tools. Runtime GC is very handy for cleaning up some things. I don't know how much of an impact it makes, but I've now sort of added it in as part of my, standard load, so it just lives there. Expanded prosthetics and organ engineering, it's always good. I quite love it. It's nice to be able to make new, actual organs. Body parts is not that much of a big deal. You can just purchase, prosthetic arms and stuff like that, but being able to, grow new organs and stuff if, your liver gets destroyed and things like that, or you get a scar on your heart or something, which is really debilitating, that's quite handy. Ziva's rim hair, it's just more hair, same, more hair again, more hair. Now, we have the vegetable garden pack, is all in here, although they've now broken it up into, modules, so you can decide which parts you want to use. I quite like a good 90% of it, so I put a good 90% of it in. Miscellaneous core lets us add robots and also add special structures to the map generator. Now, I like this because it does sometimes create structures like you can see up here, where there's you can get bigger buildings that have rooms and they're generated on the map, so you can sort of use that as a base for a bit and then grow it out, and it's a really cool natural progression, is how I would put it. Misc training, it's just standard. Extra trees and flowers, again. Here's our cult stuff, so none of this has really changed. We're just throwing the standard ones. He does also do, vampires and werewolves and stuff like that. I haven't put that in because it does, in some ways, unbalance the game. More than, having a cult does, but nevertheless, we are taking them out just so we have the basic stuff. This is more of a throwback to our cult series. Bioreactors. These are really cool. You put people in them and they generate a fair bit of power. I felt it was kind of thematically appropriate for our sort of cult thing. The idea that maybe we've got a sort of pseudo-science-y cult would be cool this time, which goes with shield generators. It's very cool. I haven't gotten much use out of it, which is more or less why it's in here. I love the idea of it. Never really gotten to the point where I could use it, so maybe that will change here. RT's weapon pack, it's just more weapons, just more guns and melee weapons, which is handy. Embrasures, excellent, should have been in the base game. Unfortunately, it isn't so far, unless they do a 1.1 or 1.2 update where they add things like embrasures. I don't know if it will appear. Tilled soil is really handy. It just allows you to create 200 fertility soil, which is a little bit broken, but it does give you a lot more options for setting up your base, because it's a lot easier to set up your base in a cold climate where you only grow for half the year if you can get 200% fertility. So that's sort of why that's in there. Vegetable garden, if you want tilled soil but you don't want this particular mod that's super duper OP, the vegetable garden pack does do tilled soil as well, and it's a lot more balanced. You have to put a lot of research into it before you actually get it, and then it requires fertilizer and stuff, so it's a whole thing. But we'll be using this one just because it's quicker and easier. Apparellos, just more clothes. Medieval Times adds lots of new crafting and sort of medieval type technology, so you get catapults, ballistas, long swords, plate armor, all that kind of stuff. While it's not really thematically appropriate for this one, I like it because it gives you a big range of melee weapons that are actually useful and good. I won't really be using any of the crafting Like, I won't be, making ice blocks or anything like that, or using, like, charcoal and shit like that. But I will probably be, like, making long swords and things like that. Just for fun, and being able to do a bit of damage with melee weapons, because the base melee weapons are kind of crap. RT Fuse is just, it adds like circuit breakers and fuses, so that when you get the ZIT event, it doesn't just blow up a wire. It actually, like, if you have full-on circuit breakers, it just trips the circuit breaker, and you just have to go over there and switch back on. If you have the basic, like, crappy circuit, it destroys the circuit, but destroys the fuse, and you have to, like, replace it with components. So it's a nice thing that isn't really in the game, but should be. I think they have changed how... I had a bit of a play around with this before, and I think they have changed how the ZIT event works, so it's not quite as devastating, but even so, fuses, it's safe. Cool. More sculptures just adds more textures for sculptures, which is just cool. Trading spot just lets you set a designated spot for traders. More vanilla turrets, standard one, we've had it before, just adds a couple more turrets, and you can get manable turrets, which are excellent. Now, this is an exciting one that I actually really wanted. It is the anesthetic gun mod. So it creates what is basically a survival rifle, which is just the standard, like, Lee Enfield looking thing. It does minimal damage, but it applies a tranquilizer effect that, with initial status, it slows them down. And as they get more doses with it, it will eventually knock them out. Pretty much perfectly healthy. It does like 1 damage, I think, to make it, like, able to apply the effect, which does mean that it can be blocked by armor, and like, creatures that have natural sort of armor do block the damage, which means they don't get anesthetized. But it means that if they don't, you can shoot them a few times and capture them, and I think that works really well for our cult. Like, we're gonna trank them up, and then we're gonna keep them in their little cells and sacrifice them to our gods. So all the good stuff. Repair workbench lets you repair durability of items at a special workbench, which is quite cool. Colony manager I don't often use. In fact, I don't really think it needs to be in this one, but I've left it in, so whatever. It'll be fine. It just lets you, like, create a management desk, which lets you queue up, like, all these sort of things, like, I think we've seen it before in one of the Let's Plays. If you've joined the channel recently and you haven't gone back and watched the Rimworld ones, they're quite fun. Rimworld, very, very good. So it will let you do things like, you can go, I want to have 1,000 wood in my stockpile, and if there isn't 1,000 wood, I want you to designate trees to cut, and it will automatically designate trees, which is very helpful if you want to do that sort of thing. Personally, I haven't had a big issue with what it handles, but it is convenient, so we leave it in. Feed the Colonist just lets you do 4 stacks of food, which is very good. Like, instead of making 1 meal at a time, you can produce 4, which is really, really good. I think that's also handled in Vegetable Garden, but I leave this in just in case it isn't. More trade chips, does what it says on the tin, just increases the rate that trade chips appear. Psychology is an excellent overhaul mod that changes a lot of things. Adds mayors to the town, or overhauls how the social system works, adds a psyche, and sexuality and romance, don't really care about that. I do like that they got rid of the gay trait and replaced it with the Kinsey scale. Whether you believe in the Kinsey scale or not, whether no judgment, whether you are a fan of gays and lesbians and homosexuality in general, or trans or whatever, no judgment, don't care. But it is nice that it got rid of the gay trait, because it was pretty silly. You can only have, like, 3 traits, and one of them could be gay, which effectively has no gameplay impact at all. Now they've just added it as a stat, basically, which is a lot more convenient. Mad skills, definitely a favorite of mine. It just stops, or it has multiple settings. I tend to stop the decay of skills, because it's quite annoying when you get to level 20 and your XP just drops, like, really, really quickly, so you can never keep anyone at level 20. Which I know is sort of a balance thing, but it isn't really. It's more just an inconvenience thing. the way it's handled in something like Dwarf Fortress is a lot more useful, where instead of it just having XP that drops, it's like, if you don't do that skill for a certain amount of time, it becomes, like, unpracticed. I forget what the term is in Dwarf Fortress, but, like, it loses its effectiveness, and they're basically, like, out of practice, and they have to do that skill for a little bit again, and then it goes back to full strength, because they've they remember what the hell they're doing. So that's a better way to handle it. I don't really like how Rimworld handles it. The Animal tab just adds lots of UI stuff to make it a lot easier. Prisoner harvesting is good, so you can harvest the organs of prisoners pretty quickly, and your colonists don't really mind that much. There is still a negative penalty, but it is not as intense as it used to be, where it used to be like, if you harvested an organ, you get like -10 or -20 for each time you harvested, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, it's pretty messed up, but it's like, they just came in here trying to kill you, and they may have even killed one of your friends. And it's like, if they shot one of your friends in the kidney and destroyed a kidney, and then you harvested their kidney and gave it to them, like, would you really have that much of a penalty if they were like a crazy person coming to kill you? Probably not. But Rimworld doesn't model that, so instead we're stuck with just like a generic like, don't care that much type deal. Hospitality, another favorite. It just adds the ability to, like, the people will visit your colony and stay as guests, and you can recruit them if you get them happy enough, etc, etc, etc. It's very, very cool. Medical tab, same thing, more UI stuff, won't really talk about it. Allow tool just adds a whole new set of things to the architect menu, which is quite handy. Quality builder, very good. It allows you to set a minimum quality on things, and if the quality doesn't get set, or like if you build a bed and you say, I want it to be at least good, and they build a normal bed or a poor bed, it will automatically queue it up to be deconstructed and rebuilt until you get to at least good quality, which is very, very cool. It's a very, very helpful thing. Because some things like beds and chairs and stuff have debuffs if they're uncomfortable, and very powerful buffs if they are comfortable. So it's just nice to be able to set it so that you don't have to manually keep deconstructing and reconstructing until it's done. Relations, again, it's just another UI tab. Same with the work tab, it just changes that a little bit. Research PAL changes the research tab to make it look a lot nicer. Animals logic lets you do a bunch of stuff with animals. Actually, yeah, I don't really know what this one does anymore that isn't in the base game. Animals can be beds, animals can be medical. I see, okay. Medical emergency alerts for animals. Okay, so yeah, it treats your animals a lot more like colonists, which is very handy. Because the base game really sort of ignores animals a lot, and considering they can be bonded to your colonists, and then die and make your colonists really, really unhappy, that's like a serious problem. Advanced biomes adds a whole bunch of new biomes to the game. They are quite cool. I don't know if we'll be using one yet, but again, it's part of my standard load now because the biomes are very, very cool. Pharmacist. This one is something I've always wanted, just like blew my mind. It adds a new setting to medical where it splits up injuries between, as you see here, like minor, major, life-threatening, and operations, and you can set manually like what medicine is required for each one, so that you stop using like Glitter World medicine on bruises, non-lethal diseases, and small cuts. Because that is one of the most annoying things in Rimworld, where you get this good medicine that you're like, oh, I'm gonna save it for like if you need great medicine and they're dying, they have the plague and they're running behind, you sort of need that Glitter World medicine to get it up, and then you find out that it's all gone because they used it on some bruises they got from a social fight, where they got angry at each other and beat each other up, and they went and used your great medicine on just some shitty, like, non-lethal, not even really affecting anything bruises. So that's very frustrating, and Pharmacist fixes that, so excellent. Simple sidearms just lets you carry you can either carry, I think, a selection of melee weapons. Well, you can carry multiple weapons, where you carry one primary weapon and then multiple sidearms, where you could carry, like, the obvious use is a ranged weapon and a melee weapon, and that's kind of what I use it for. It's just nice to be able to equip them with both, and then what happens is when they engage in melee, they drop their main weapon and they pull out, like, their knife or whatever to fight that way. It makes them more effective in general. Rim Quest just adds a whole bunch of new quests. And when a trader or caravan arrives, you can right-click a character with a green exclamation mark to see what quests are available. So it makes the what do you call it? Makes the like overworld travel a lot more interesting. Now, medical training is one I always leave in. It hasn't actually been updated since Alpha 10, but it does still work. I think it's the thing that's throwing errors at me when I start the game, but I haven't had an issue with it yet. And hopefully those errors are just, like, fine. They're not really an issue. So basically it just lets you cut up dead bodies for medical experience. Which is good because medical XP is very hard to get your hands on otherwise. Incident person stat, so this is really handy because any of like the Wanderer's Join, any of those missions that try to foist a person on you now gives you some of their stats, which is a lot more useful so you can make an actual decision. Chicken Sufficient Light just reduces the standing lamp consumption from 30 to 20. And yeah, okay, and change the sun lamps, and the lamps don't have quite as much light, so... Oh. Okay, that's a bit shit. I didn't actually read that one. The sun lamps do not short-circuit in the rain. That's a bit shitty, but it's fine. I don't really use sun lamps that much anymore anyway. Because it's sort of a weird thing. Sun lamps used to be super powerful, because plants used to just grow as long as there was light. Whereas now, they tend to only grow... They, like, rest... at night. They sleep at night like your colonists do, which is, by the way, really silly, and I don't know if that's a thing in real life. But basically, there's no real point having sun lamps. You get like a couple of extra hours out of it, maybe. But, yeah, because they rest at night and don't grow, then, you know, you're just having sun lamps on for no reason. And then EDB, Prepare Carefully, is, sorry, EDB, I think it's supposed to be. It just lets you, like, at the start when we're setting up our colonists, we can choose carefully. So we can, if we want to, we can go through and, like, tweak everything a lot. And Mod Switch just lets me set up a list like this, and then it adds these buttons down here where I can, like, save it, load it, you know, shift everything around. So it's quite handy like that. So, meanwhile, let's get into it, and let's look at what 1.0 has to offer, and all the new things. We'll probably start with a crash landed start, just because I don't want to do Rich Explorer. Lost Tribe is fun, but it's a whole thing on its own. And Naked Brutality is just exactly that. It's brutal. You start with no equipment, you start with one person. It's supposed to be hard. So we'll just start with the standard crash landed start. Now, hasn't this changed a little bit? Slightly different. You might not even notice the difference, but we will go for medium difficulty. Because it has been a while since I properly played it. I could go rough, I guess, but nah, we'll go medium for now. I might even still die. And then you also now need to pick one of these. So you can choose Reload Anytime mod, which is sort of the standard mode, where you can save load whenever you want, and Commitment mode, which is just hardcore mode, so you can only save when quitting the game. So anything that happened is stuck that way. Now, when I play the game myself, I play Commitment mode. Because I'm playing it for YouTube, I'm going to do Reload Anytime. Because, like, if it crashes or if something, like, happens, I don't want it affecting the video. So Reload Anytime mode is kind of a requirement. You can also tick the Merciless mode button. So what it does is it turns up the challenge to extreme difficulties. Merciless mode unlocks automatically when you reach specific milestones. Interesting. But yeah, so basically it just makes the game super duper hard. And apparently it activates in-game as well. We will stick with Cassandra Classic. I do also like Phoebe Chillax because it gives you some time in between assaults and stuff to build up some defenses. But for this one, actually no, we will do Phoebe Chillax, and I'll tell you why. We're probably going to deal with a lot of stone, and stone takes a very long time to build and cut. So we probably want that sort of gap. No, stuff it. Stuff it. No, it's part of the fun. We'll go Cassandra Classic. I've decided. Let's seed it with Cthulhu, just to see what happens. Globe coverage, we'll do 30%, because it's quicker and we don't really need to wait. And we'll see what this kind of builds. See what we kind of end up with here. Wow, that was actually pretty quick. Like when to put a cut in, and it basically just finished. Alright, so because it's only 30% coverage, there's a lot of ocean. Like, this is what the 30% coverage is. If we do 100% coverage, it fills the whole world. But while I used to do that, just to get the full experience, unless you do a lot of moving around, you're not going to really do that. 30%, like, if we start in the middle, we're still not going to go out here at all, because it'll take, like, 10 days or more to get across there. So it's just not an issue. How are we looking? So you have some poison forests, which I don't really want to touch, because apparently they're really bad. Volcanoes, I am almost tempted to do, but I would imagine they're quite hot. And that's an issue. We have some wastelands. So these are all the new biomes that were added by that mod. So volcano, poison forest, and wasteland are added by the mod. I think there's one more, but I don't know if we have it. Don't know if we have it. It might have been wetland, but I don't think so. Unfortunate. So we're going to lean towards cold. Just because, you know, if we're looking at, like, Cthulhu-esque, you know, like, H.P. Lovecraft type deal, it's normally in, like, New England. So it's near the border of Canada, so it's, like, quite cold. You would imagine, in terms of America. Cold and wet, so we're not going to go, like, super snowy, but we're also going to go somewhere into the negatives, because I imagine New England gets into the negatives in winter. So, what if we go, like, somewhere around here? It is a temperate forest, which is kind of boring. I do not want to do temperate forest, but if I draw a line sort of across the globe here, which is sort of the line of, like, growing season and temperature, there's really nowhere else I can go. I could do a desert run. Could do a desert run. It's tempting. It is tempting, but I think we might stick to like a temperate forest or a boreal forest. Could do a boreal forest in a plains where there's no mountains. No, but we're going to do a lot of rock, so we need some mountains. I'm thinking we do like around here somewhere. Slate and limestone. If we can get slate and marble, that's sort of ideal. But marble, slate, and limestone? I kind of want just slate and limestone. Slate and marble, sorry, if I can get it. But I'm not going to go chasing it. Slate and marble, there we go. That looks good. It is a mountainous region, though. Which I don't really want. So we'll have a quick look. I mean, this is why I do an episode 0, so that we can fart ass around with this for a bit. Slate and marble, there we go. Small hills sounds good. Unless there's a large hills. Is there large hills with slate? Marble, slate, and granite, actually. Ooh, it is small hills again. Okay, if we're going to do small hills, we'll do both. Marble and granite, slate and limestone. Man, just by our powers combined, can we just Captain Planet that? Yeah, because I was just thinking granite, marble, and slate might be a... There we go. Ah, it's mountainous again. I don't really want to do mountainous. I do mountainous a lot. It's not quite as fun. Okay, we'll do the small hills over here, wherever it was. That's sandstone and marble. Slate and marble, there it is. Looks good. Goes down to -5, goes up to 28. That's quite sensible. We have colony nearby. We have some raiding parties nearby, some tribals, so it should be kind of exciting. Yeah, although, unless we can find it over here. Sandstone and slate. Do large hills just have 3 types? No, because there's 2 types. Slate, granite, and marble. There we go. Looks good. Temperate forest, large hills. I love it. This is where we're going. I'm going to call it now. For the advanced, I won't up the size. Actually, I will. We'll go up the next size up. So the factions on the map, just as a heads up, we have 2 Outlander unions. One of them starts hostile. Interesting. I haven't had an Outlander union start hostile before. We have 1 tribe, a gentle tribe. So you have what? 2 tribes, 1 savage, 1 gentle. Oh, okay. Civil Outlander Union, Rough Outlander Union. Ah, cool. This bloody thing looks like it's pretty good. This seed. So Cthulhu, pretty good seed. Would you believe? Where are you? We have a pirate band. They're hostile. What a shocker. The Agency, again, they're neutral. Shocker. 4th Infantry Division, Lost Platoon. I think that's a new thing added into the cult. I don't think that was in the base, or last time we played it. I don't think the Infantry Division was there. I know there was a sub mod for the Infantry Division, but I don't think they were in the main faction thing. Coastal Fishing Town, couple of medieval societies, and a war band. Okay, so we got a big smattering of factions. You can see all the different colours on here. We do start down the road for some fishing villages and an agency HQ, so that sounds good for a Cthulhu game. So let's do it. Boom. Now, here's what I like doing for this. I won't really prepare carefully, but what I will do is find 3 people that are incapable of none and have some decent traits, so it's actually not too bad. We'll keep that one. Incapable of... Oops, that was a none just there I went past. Open-minded and outdoorsy. I like it. Cooking and medical. Good. That fills a gap we don't have. We don't have... So, now that we have this here, it's quite handy. I think that was in an earlier update. Plants would be nice. Intellectual doesn't really matter. We do have passion for intellectual, so it's okay. But we kind of want passion for probably construction and plants, if we can manage. Okay, we don't have one for that. Actually, animals isn't listed here. It's kind of annoying. Alright, we'll just see what we can find then. Very neurotic is something I want to avoid. Chemical interest and chatty. Artistic, social, medical, artistic, animals, construction. That's pretty good. We might want to change you then. Like, cooking is nice, but... Okay, so actually, what do we want? We want cooking, plants, and... Actually, that's about it. We want cooking and plants. Yeah. Okay, so we'll see if we can find someone with cooking and plants, and we'll just let them go regardless of what they are. There's plants. Actually, having one person on cooking and plants is kind of scary. It's not really what you want. Ooh. Underground and sickly. Yeah, it's probably not great. Okay, there's plants, mining, artistic, medical, social, intellectual. Okay, so that's pretty good. Maybe we want to shuffle you around. We have 0 skill in cooking. That's not really an option. I'm wondering if we tweak one of these people. Like, maybe we get... that surgeon's got a lot of hats on, though. You know what? Let's... I don't want to prepare carefully, actually. Do we just go in with 0 skill in cooking? I don't think we can afford to do that. I think we might have to change this one. Still no... What is with all this, like, lack of skill in cooking? There we go. Cooking, animals, shooting melee, left eye's a golden eye, which means that they're half blind. Which is fine. Maybe we can grow them a new eye. That's why they joined the cult. So they joined the cult. Actually, you're pretty good. So we now should have passion for, like, everything? Yeah, more or less. Psychically sensitive, chemical interest, those are annoying traits, but I guess I'll be fine. Underground and masochist and misogynist, those 3 are all okay. Chemical interest and chatty. Although misogynist, so you're a... Right, really like distrust women. We actually have 3 males, so that's fine. And then left behind, what I like to do here is basically just random until we see some relations. And go from there. Actually. Maybe not you, because that is pretty bad. Ah, see, that's better. Just because it adds a little bit of excitement. For, like, when we get some events, we might find them. Yeah, see, like that. That looks good. And that looks good. Wow, there must be a lot of relations here. Rubber. So Rubber has a wife and a mother. And his mother has a son and a daughter-in-law. Yeah, wow, it's like one family here. Logan. What is it? Lindsay Muffins Logan. Yeah, there's like 3 Logans in this family. 2 skeletons. 3 skeletons. Okay, so there's like, we split it up between 2 families. Man, I love it. I love the idea of that. That seems great. Alright, so we're going in. Okay, so here we are at the standard start. The 3 of you awake in your crypto-sleep sarcophagi to the sound of sirens and ripping metal. You barely get to the escape pods before the ship is torn apart. Sometime later, you land on this unknown Rimworld. As pieces of the shredded starship fall around you, you start making plans to survive. And join cults. Great cults. Lovely cults. Wonderful cults. Totally not evil, like, ancient god-worshipping cults. You know, that kind of thing. Anyway, guys, this is where we will leave episode 0, and we will start episode 1, which, you know, I'll see you guys in a little bit. Like, 10 seconds, however quick your browser is to load up part 1. So, guys, thank you very much for tuning in for part 0. If you want to keep up with this series, jump over to part 1 now, where we'll actually start playing. So, I'll see you just over there. Goodbye.